My daughter and I were talking in the car on the way home, and she said, you know, I've just always been like more of a night person, and I just wonder like who decided that the schedule we're supposed to be on in most of the world is like 8 to 5 type of job, you know, go to bed at whatever time, wake up early. She's like, I know I would do so much better on like a night shift. She's like, I feel like I was just born to be that way. And I said, you know, a lot of people feel that way. And she said, well, it just makes me feel like somewhere a long time ago, we were split into like two groups of people, like people that were on like an early shift and people that were on a late shift. And like, we still are that deep in our soul, but we're like forced into like this time, you know, constraint by our world. And I said, you know what, you may not be that far off, because recently I was reading in the Bible about how they had, like, the one thing was like, it was fourth watch, and I'm going to have a video about that because God was speaking to me about that. There's a whole big thing, but I digress. When I was researching it, I found that they had like first, second, third, and fourth watches, and it's because they had certain people who were watching over the city to protect from like invaders and people that might come and try to war with them. And so they had them on these different schedules. And I said, so you might not be that far off. And she said, me and her both at the same moment said, oh, you know what? And you know who else? Shepherds. Shepherds, and she quoted the scripture from the Christmas story in the Bible. They were keeping watch over their flock by night. So there had to be nighttime shepherds. There had to be a remnant of people that they did their job in the middle of the night. So you're probably not that far off. And I said, you know, it's just so wild because today in our world, in our society, we've been taught that there's certain things that are normal. You know, normal schedule, normal job, get married at a normal time, you know. But the thing is, God never intended for us to all be the same. And that's proved in the Bible. And there are so many people in the Bible that were weirdos and misfits and not like everyone else. They didn't fit the norm, but God didn't intend for them to. And it just really gave me peace. It gave me such peace knowing that over and over again, God shows me that He makes us all to be different for a reason. So if you feel like you're not on the right timeline or the right schedule or not doing things in the normal way, just know that God could completely be in that. And on top of that, it kind of expanded more into the Christmas story. And I said, for that matter, Jesus wasn't born in a normal way. He wasn't born in a normal circumstance. He was born to a virgin mother. Joseph married her knowing she was pregnant with not his child. There was scandal, there was questioning, there was insecurity. There was so much about that situation that was not normal. And God could have done it in a normal way, but He chose not to. Even the fact that the timing of His birth, He was born during the census. That's why they were traveling and there was no room at the inn. So many people were traveling at that time to be part of the census. They had to go back to their hometown to be counted. That's why there was no room in the inn, which basically made Jesus, the King of the world, be born in a lowly stable, in a lowly manger He was placed in. None of it was normal. None of it seemed ideal. None of it seemed like the right circumstances or the right way. And, you know, people could look at the Christmas story and say, oh, if Jesus was born in that circumstance and in that time in the modern world, even Christians would say, well, no, that's not appropriate. That can't be right. That can't be God. But guess what? It is. It was. And so if you feel like you are not normal and your circumstances are not normal, or you feel like you're behind or you're odd or you're whatever, just seek God. Some of the most beautiful, wonderful, amazing God-led things that have ever happened have happened to unlikely people, to the misfits, to the weirdos, and in the most unlikely way.